Hello, everyone, and welcome to Constantia Talks. Today I have Sarah Jones with me. Welcome, Sarah, to the program. I'm really glad to have you here.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, and as you can see, this is the first podcast on a car, so I'm super excited on getting this. And well, first, Sarah, I would like to know a little bit about you. If you can share with us, who are you?
Sure. So I am Sarah Jane Jones. I am from Virginia. I grew up in Roanoke and have spent most of my life here. I am fourth generation in a produce company. My great grandfather started the produce company on the Roanoke City Market, and I grew up running around the market with everybody down there, and they grew up watching them sell the tomatoes and the oranges and the apples and all that kind of stuff. And then in the mid 90s, we sold the place on the market, and they got a warehouse, and my dad and his brother started doing more wholesale stuff out of our warehouse. And then I still ran around the warehouse with the guys pulling orders and doing all that kind of stuff before there were all the safety requirements that are now in place. So we had the warehouse, and then I went off to college, and I got a degree in business. And my dad said, "Oh, great, you're coming to work for me, right?" And I said, I guess so. Okay, sure. So I started with the company in 2005 as the fourth generation produce person. I am the first female to go through. My great grandfather, and then my grandfather, and then my dad and his brother. My dad's sisters weren't involved with the company, but it's going well. My dad retired in 2018, and I've been kind of running our Roanoke division since then.
Amazing. Congrats for being the first woman. Right before we start recording, we were speaking about this, like women taking over this kind of business. And I would like to know a little bit more about this. How has it been for you to manage a business that has been always run by men, and how people treat you? Is it all right? Like, how is it going?
It depends on what circumstances we're in. I will say initially it was really difficult for me. Coming in, right out of college, I was really big into the sustainability and all of that kind of stuff. And I was super excited about working with the farmers and going to see customers and doing all of these things. And, I went into this one customer, and they're a great customer now. I'll preface it with that. But I went into this one customer, and he yelled at me, and he was like, "I'm not buying from you." He's like, "You don't know what you're doing." He was like, "And I've never bought from a female." And I kind of, I got back in my car, and I cried a little bit, and I was like, I don't know how I'm going to do this. This is really not fun for me. And 2 days later, I went back in, and I was like, look, I do know what I'm doing. And I gave him my background, and I said, your company has decided that they're going to buy from us, so you're not going to have a choice but to work with me. I said, and we can do it one of two ways. We can do this where I will literally do anything to make you successful. Or if I have 19 cases of bananas and 20 are ordered, guess who's not going to get their bananas tomorrow? It's going to be you, because that's where you're putting me. And I think that garnered some respect from him after a little while. It does happen often, though, where I will walk into a room for meetings or whatnot, and I am the only female in the room. We have we have 3 divisions here at Produce Source Partners. We have Roanoke, which is the one where I am now, and then we have Ashland, which is our large division. And Rachel, who is technically my boss, she kind of runs our Ashland division, and she is another 4th generation female in our company. So we have a lot in common. We are kind of kindred spirits in what we do and how we approach things, and we bounce a lot of things off of each other. And when we are the the only females going into these meetings, we kind of we stick together, and it's nice. It's really great to have her as my partner in all of this.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing that you also got someone to support you in this way, so you're not alone. Like you're not the only woman anymore. And I really think it's great that we get to have more and more diversity inside a business. That it's fascinating. So, congrats for that. And also going in this line, as you said, it's a family business. What advice do you have to other people that get in a family business and they have a lot of things behind and they need to do something different?
You know, you grow up in the business, and you see it from the time that you're really little. So sometimes it's hard to take a step back and reinvent for your generation, because every generation is different. And every generation has different things, especially with technology going the way it has. You know, at one point in time, the company had completely blocked Facebook. They didn't want anyone on Facebook while they were working, because they thought that it was a distraction. They thought that it was, going to be something that was going to be a problem for the employees. And it, we kind of came through and we were like, hey, we need a Facebook page. We don't need a Facebook page. Why do we need a Facebook page? And it's difficult for the younger generation, I think, to come in and convince the older generation that some of these things are important. Facebook is a prime example. Some other things, I came in right out of college and I was like, I found this great tofu company. And they were like, nobody likes tofu. We're not going to sell tofu. And I was like, you would be surprised. And I promise you that we can, we can sell this if you give us a chance. And it became one of our best sellers. The company has since gone out of business. But I think that coming in as a family business, it's really important for the younger generation to put their mark on it, and it's really important for them to communicate with the older generation and just keep pushing, because you don't have the comp feel. Actually, when you first come in, it's kind of like, oh well, they've been doing this a really long time and they know what's going on. And even with my business degree and all of the things, and I ended up going back to school and getting a master's in business and still really focusing on it, the confidence comes a little later, and you really need it to come a little earlier. And you really need to push for the things that you think will be successful, because I think the younger generations have a lot to offer, and it's really important to listen to them.
Yeah, it's true. And it's a normal thing, to happen, that new generations need to take over and of course listen to the advices and to see how is it been going for the last years, but also have these little seeds to have new things. And talking about families, I know you have a family yourself, that you're right now pregnant, and it's like balance here should be a key, because as I can imagine, the business should be crazy. And what has been the key for you to have a balance between a personal life and a work life?
It has definitely been wild, especially this last year and a half with all of the COVID stuff that's been happening. The homeschooling, the kids not having anywhere to go. I have relied on my parents a lot. They retired, like I said, in 2018. My mom also worked for the company, and she retired with my dad, so they left together. And I was kind of like, well, you retired. However, because I'm still here and I have to, kind of run things now, you need to take my children for a little while. So I'm still relying on that family part of the family business. So they've stepped up quite a bit and taken my kids a lot for me. My husband is also in nursing school. So he is in school the majority of the time. That he's in his last year, but he's in clinicals and at the hospital for 12 to 14 hours a day sometimes. So I don't really have him either. So it's been very complicated. I am blessed that I have a laptop at home, and I wake up in the morning and I check all my emails. I take care of everything that I can from like 5:30 until about 7. And then I wake up my kids and I get them ready for their day, wherever they're going, whatever they're doing, um, and feed them breakfast and do all of that kind of stuff. And then I usher them out the door to wherever it is they're going. Um, some days, if I don't have anywhere for them to go, I give them some little assignments like, here, you need to read this book and then you can watch a TV show or whatever. They're 7 and 3.5 now, so they do pretty well. But, I have my laptop at home, and there's some days where I'm home all day and I'm trying to work, and I have them, coming over in the middle of whatever I'm doing and asking questions, or I'm on the phone with somebody and it's really important and they come up and they're like, Mommy, she did this to me and she's trying to do this. And I'm like, shh, I'm really trying to be professional here. So it's tricky. It's tricky with them. But all in all, they've done a really good job, but the balance is tough. It's definitely really hard to strike the balance. And most of the time I feel like I'm failing at everything. You can't be like the super mom and the super, the super everything. You have all the housework and you have all of the cooking and all of the stuff. And then you're trying to work on top of that. And then you have all of these employees that are counting on you to do everything that you're supposed to do so that they can do all of their jobs. And it's definitely hard. And there are definitely days where it's like, I'm just not going to make it through this day, but you just keep pushing. And I think that the big thing is to try to find some time for yourself, which I'm terrible at. And I'm trying to do better with that. I'm trying to do better with taking a little time for myself so that I can be more productive in my work life and my home life.
Yeah, no, it's true. It's a lot of pressure because coming from both sides, it's not just about being a good mom or a good professional, but both at the same time, and at the same time, keep being a person yourself. So I'm sure it's about balance, and it's also about giving you the chance to get wrong sometimes because we are humans. And at the end of the day, I think there is nothing more urgent than just be peaceful and take it as it comes. And well, you were speaking about sustainability and how you interested were when you got out of college. So I'm a little bit curious what kind of sustainability you're managing right now in your company.
So I love working with the farmers. That's one of my favorite aspects of what we do. I love agriculture. I find the whole industry fascinating. With the food, and it's funny because so many people just don't realize how much goes into what we do. They just think, oh, I picked up a bag of shredded lettuce and okay, I have a bag of shredded lettuce now. Like, they don't realize what goes into it. So I love working with the local farmers. We currently deal with, just in the state of Virginia, we have over 130 local farms that we deal with. And they bring us product so that we can distribute it. I work very closely with the colleges and universities. I work very closely with Virginia Tech and JMU and Radford University. Those are my primary accounts. I also do a lot with hospitals and that kind of stuff as well. But the farm to fork push has been really big here, and they love to advertise the local farmers. So I do a lot with taking whatever it is that we're getting. Like, they were getting zucchini squash from this local farmer. Well, I will send them who the farm is that they're buying the product from, and they'll kind of do a spotlight on that farm and show the kids. And it's educational.
Yeah.
For college students to know exactly where their food is coming from, because a lot of people are pushing in that direction, and they see the big companies like Produce Source Partners, and we're not even that big, but they see those trucks and they're like, why aren't we buying from a local farm? And it's like, well, you are buying from a local farm. We're just facilitating the local farmer so they don't have to bring it to you. And it's tricky explaining that to a lot of people. But that's the big sustainability push is the reduced in the mileage that the food is traveling. We also do a lot with containers that are recyclable, or containers that can be reused or repurposed in other ways. So we've been trying to push for that too, and not have quite so much plastic waste and that kind of stuff. So our sustainability push has been ongoing, for 16 years now. We've really been focused on it.
Yeah, no, and it's crazy because it's true there's not a lot of information out there about how actually the supply chain works and all the steps that are behind it. So people just believe about picking and then going to the supermarket, but there is a whole thing in between that it's really important to take into account. And going to this side of sustainability and craziness and so on, what do you think about digitalization? Now that it's a new era, new people getting into the business, have you gotten any tool or anything that helps you struggling with all of these things?
There's not really one thing that necessarily is the clutch item that really helps us with everything. I think the primary issue that we have, just as an industry, is education. It really is, and that's where a lot of people don't care. They just want their stuff. They want their lettuce. They want it to look good, and they want it to be inexpensive, and that's it. They don't care that there's wildfires that have been burning for days in California. They don't care that there's been a drought in Yuma and all the stuff is, wilting and dying in the fields. And I think that the more you explain to people, the more communication you have. And this is something that we really try to stress here with our sales reps, with everybody, is communication. I think that the more you kind of talk through it with people, the more understanding they are. And it's not just weather related things. It's, we have an extreme lack of truck drivers over here in the United States right now. We don't have anybody to transfer the product. We also have a lack of trucks in general. Where everybody's trying to fight for trucks. A lot of product is late getting where it's supposed to get to because we don't have the people to pick it in the fields. So the labor and everything right now is very tricky. And we strive really hard to communicate all of that with our customers. Say, look, this is what we're facing right now. This is what we're facing as an industry. And we don't want you to be frustrated. And we're all frustrated, but we don't want you to be frustrated with us because you think that we're not doing something correct. Literally everyone is doing everything they can. This is just what we're facing right now. So I think that it's really important to have the communication with your customers and with just the general public about the industry issues that are going on. And it has been worse, with COVID and with all of the things. It has definitely gotten worse. So I think that's probably the biggest thing.
Yeah, also, I guess the distances to the United States are huge. Like getting from one place to another, you really need a lot of transportation, and it's really big amounts. Like people never actually think of hundreds, thousands of letters together, getting to one point to another with all the good conditions to actually get in a good condition to the store. So yeah, it's a whole new world for everyone, and it's amazing that you get like a job to educate people. And I'm a little bit curious if you have other insights about EOS market. Like, how do you feel you differentiate from the rest of the world? What are the particularities of this market?
The US, and this is something that, we discuss often in management meetings and everything else, is where is our market trending? Where are we going? What are we going to do next? And that kind of thing. People are always going, and this is something my dad used to always say, people are always going to eat. And it's true. However, the trends have changed significantly. Obviously, there's not as much dining out, and the dining out is becoming more and more expensive. And a lot of people are like, we just can't afford to dine out. So a lot of it has shifted to retail as opposed to restaurant. So you have to look at different pack sizing and all of that kind of stuff. Something else that people don't really understand about the United States is over 80% of all of our produce is grown in a very small area out between Arizona and California. And that's for the whole country. And so oh, well, I want to get stuff from this local farm. Well, it's February and it's snowing and the local farm doesn't have anything. And you hear that a lot, especially with the school systems. They want local stuff, and it's like, well, the school year here in the United States is like August to May. So your local growing season is in the summer, which is the end of May, beginning of June through August. So you really are not hitting that local growing season at all. And the reason that the school year is set up the way it was so that the kids could help harvest in the summers. They could help harvest things in the summers. And that was a very long time ago. So they set up the school year so that kids could help in the fields and do all of these things in the summertime, and then they could go back to the school in the winter when the work wasn't there on the farms. So it's kind of all reversed itself at this point. But we do have some things that are local, but we have a hard time. Apples are local throughout the fall here in Virginia. So that's something that we push a lot, and whatnot. But we have a hard time with the local push because everybody wants to push for local, and that's always the trend. It's just a matter of figuring out how to help them utilize local product when it's available.
Yeah, and also like to educate this trend to say like, okay, it's all right, it's an amazing thing to do, but take into account these things, and then we can talk about it.
Right, and that's very true as well. And people are trending. They want to buy more, directly from the farm. And we kind of, and Rachel and I have had this conversation between ourselves. They kind of see us as like the evil empire, like we're trying to take things away from the farms. And that's not what we're trying to do at all. We're trying to facilitate the farmers to get their products to the universities. But there are a lot of to sell to us, and most of it is food safety related. And that is also tricky for some of the smaller farmers that they have to go through. It's called a GAP certification, the Good Agricultural Practices certification, where they have to make sure that they're doing everything in their power to make sure that the food is safe to eat. And that's something that's also tricky. So there's a huge push in the United States, and there has been for forever, to buy locally, and to be more sustainable. But it is hard to get the farmers where they need to be. And the food safety is very, very important. You can't just say, well, just don't worry about it. If somebody gets E. coli, it's fine. Like, you can't do that. So it's hard also to educate your customers that they have to buy safe food as well as local food. So again, we go back to the education aspect of everything and trying to educate people on why the precautions are put in place.
Yeah, no, it's totally true. I agree with you. It's just about time also, I guess, to these topics to go out and people to get more informed. And you will feel like we are in one of those meetings, because in my last question is what is next for the produce and what is next for producers partners.
We ask ourselves that a lot here. Where are we going and what are we doing? And the biggest thing in today's market, as far as we can tell, is trying to be innovative. It's trying to be the first to market on some new products. We have some things that are in the works that we're trying to roll out and take to market. It's tricky. There's a lot of competition in our state. And so it is hard to be the supplier of choice. Again, we try to pride ourselves on the communication aspect of, this is what's going on, here's where we are, how is this going to work? And moving forward, we're going to continue that. We're going to continue the conversations, even when they're the hard conversations of, hey, we don't have enough truck drivers. I need 9 drivers, and I only have 5 today. That we're going to continue to do that and hope that that we can build those relationships, because our customers aren't just our customers, they're our partners. And that's the way we see it. It is a partnership, not just, well, you're my customer. We actually partner with our customers to try to make sure that if they look good, we look good, and we tell them that often. So I think the communication is a key aspect, as well as trying to get some of these new things that we have in the works to market quickly, because everybody is looking for that leg up and trying to figure out where they can go next. So we're really trying to focus on that and to push through and push through all the craziness that this market has been with COVID, with
Yes.
schools shutting down and everything. It really is almost like a rebirth of the company. Our numbers are all different, the pack sizes are all different, because of the shift from restaurant to retail and whatnot. We've had a large shift in our industry in general. And so it's just kind of navigating that and figuring out where we're going. And I don't have a definitive answer, because we are still working on it and we're still evolving for sure.
Yeah, no, it's also amazing because you got to be in a part of the industry and in the world where everything is getting different, and we need to find new trends. We need to understand the market again. And I think this is fascinating, frustrating maybe sometimes, but we are in the middle of a new thing that will eventually give us some new clues. So thank you so much for today's talk. I had a really great time. You gave me really amazing insights, and I'm really grateful to get the chance to speak to you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. It was a pleasure talking to you as well.